Welcome to Nature Photography during lockdown. We're locked in. We are taking photos of things that we've either bought inside from nature or things that we already had inside that remind us of nature and trying to make it look like the photos were taken outside. That's right, it's nature photography. We're faking it. This week we're doing water droplet photography. Don't go away. Hi, I'm Barry Callister of Barry Callister Photography and Photographer's Freedom. Welcome to my channel. Thanks for checking out this video today. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, the subscribe button's down there and the notification bell is right next to it so that you don't miss any of my future videos. Now, last week in nature photography during lockdown, we did ice photography. I crushed up some ice, put it in a bowl and took some photos from above, and I lit it in different ways. I used different colored lighting. I used lighting underneath. So hopefully you had a go at that yourself and you got some great shots out of it. Now this week we're doing water in its liquid form, and I decided to do water droplet photography. I have never done this before, so I've been practicing all week with different lighting setups in different locations. I've ended up here in the garage and I'll explain this strange monstrosity behind me in a second. What I firstly did was I set up just a little shot glass full of water on my kitchen bench and I lit it with just a couple of lights. Originally I think it was just one light. It was just my little Telefo P T176S there. I just lit it just with that one light and just experimented with shutter speeds and apertures and tried to get that frozen motion of the water. And it didn't really work out that way. I got a few half decent shots, but not what I was looking for. What I decided was that I didn't have enough light and there was no way I was going to get enough light using just lighting, electric lighting. So I moved it outside. I went to the table at the back deck and I set up a diffuser behind it to diffuse the sunshine so it wasn't too harsh. And I got some really decent results this way, and you can too. Then I ended up watching a few videos on YouTube. I read a blog that said you should do this in the dark and you should use a flash. So I did this. I went into the dark in here in the garage at night time, tried to take a few shots. I got a few good results out of that, but again, not really happy. So I went back to YouTube, I watched a few more videos, and I've noticed that using a flash is the go, but you don't need to do this in the dark. So here I am in the daytime. I have my flash. I've just got one flash, and you can do this without it, guys. You do not need an external flash such as this one. This is a Yongnuo YN565EX. I'll just take this off here. This is my yogurt dome, as I call it. I'll explain that in a minute. So this is a great flash. They're not very expensive. I'll link them in the description below. And just this one flash was all I used to get all of the photos that you're about to see. So this yogurt dome here, this is just a diffuser that I've made from an old yogurt container, piece of cake. Just modified it, put a rubber band in there so that it'll hug my flash head and won't fall off. So I've just been using that. Now the other thing that you're going to need, of course, is some water and some sort of bowl or plate or tray to put it in. I am using this salad bowl that we have that's black, which is really good because then it won't reflect light and it kind of gives a really great look to the shots. It depends on what you're going for, but for me, I kind of like the bowl to be dark so it won't give any coloration to the shot. Now you want your bowl filled to the brim with water so that you can get your camera down to eye level with the water and really get a sense of being right in there with that droplet. It's really awesome. Now, initially I was just using this little pipette that my daughter got with a kiddie science kit to drop the droplets and using my remote shutter release to fire the camera at what I thought was the right time. That's how I got those few shots you saw earlier from outside on the table in the sunshine. And you can see I got some good results, but it was really, really hard to time. And I took 1,123 photos that day. Just keep in mind that you are going to need patience with this because you will be taking a heck of a lot of shots that don't work. So I thought with the pipette, it's kind of really hard to time it and I'm having to do two-handed thing. So what I thought was, I'll get a soft drink bottle or a soda bottle if you're in America, and I'll drill a hole in the cap and then the water will drip out slowly. So I did that and I tipped it upside down and the water just ran straight out and wouldn't stop running. So I thought, well, how can I slow that down? So what I did was I got this bit of t-shirt. This is just a square, cut out square of an old t-shirt, a cotton t-shirt, and I've just put a rubber band around that, and that has worked really well. You tip it upside down, it drips nicely and evenly most of the time. I also found I had to drill a hole in the end of the bottle because obviously once all that air gets sucked in from all the water falling out, it just stops dripping. So to keep it dripping, you need to control that bit there and have a hole in the end of it there. And I've put a bit of black gaffer tape over here to just control the rate of drips. If I want to turn it on or off, I can do that. If I want to walk away for a while, I can put the tape back over, it'll stop dripping after a while. Put a tray underneath your bowl as well, because obviously you've got your bowl too overflowing. So when it flows over, it's got to have somewhere to go. And make sure that you empty your tray every now and then because it will fill up fast. To hold my bottle, I just got this length of plywood that we had in the shed here, and I just cut a hole in it. And that sits the bottle in there just nicely. Make sure I'm not going to drip on anything. And it's beautiful. So I've been using that, and I just sit that up there above the bowl and it just drips just nicely, and that makes sure that the drop always goes in the same place, which is really important because focus is a tough thing to do with this. What you want to do is you want to wait till it starts dripping. Once it does, get a ruler or a pen or something, put it in the water at the point where the drop is falling in, and manually focus your camera. Use live view on your camera and manual focus. You do not want to have autofocus here. You'll never get a shot that is anything decent. So I've just propped my wood up here with these plastic boxes. It's just a basic rig I've made out of what I could find here in the shed. So let's talk about how to get these shots and the camera settings that you need. One other thing I do have, you may have noticed in the background there, was just a couple of pieces of alfoil, just kitchen foil. This is for reflecting a little bit of extra light. So I put some in here on the sides of the boxes, and it kind of just bounces the flash around in there and just makes a bit more light for me, because I thought that just the one flash was not quite enough. But trust me, you can get some really decent results with one flash. You don't need to go out and get another one. And like I said, you don't even need a flash. You can get results doing it outside in the sunshine. Just make sure you've got a lot of light, diffuse the light so it's not too harsh. Use your fastest shutter speed. My Nikon D5200 goes to 1/4000th of a second, and the photos you're looking at right now were taken at 1/4000th of a second, and they are really great. The only thing you're not really going to be able to capture at that shutter speed is the moment when the droplet hits the water and it sprays out. So you get those kind of water flowers, if you like. You're not going to get that. That happens very fast. You will get it, but as you can see in the shots, it's a little bit blurry. There's motion blur in there. So you need a much faster shutter speed to freeze that, or a flash. So let's have a look at this. We'll have a look at where the camera's set up, how to set the flash up, and the camera settings that you need. All right, so this is my setup here. You can see I've got my camera on a tripod, of course. Please use a tripod when you're doing this. I have my flash sitting just next to the camera there, and the camera, as you can see, is pretty much eye level with the bowl there. So my bowl is not full right now, but I will fill it up to the brim in a second, and I've got the tray underneath there to catch the extra drips. Down here on the table I have my remote trigger to trigger the shutter so I don't have to touch the camera and create motion blur in the photos, and I've got my ruler for focusing. So up top here above this bowl we have suspended my bottle there in the piece of plywood, and I've got the alfoil here that will be draped down the sides of these boxes here to reflect back a bit of the flash and kind of extend the power of my flash a little bit. Now up the back there you can see that I've got a black sheet there that is just draped over an old music stand of mine, just to create a sort of a blank background, because obviously if I left the garage door in the back of the shot, that would look quite silly. So just use a plain color background, black, white, any colored card you may have. I did use a magenta sort of a color, piece of cardboard for some of the shots that you can see here. So let's talk about camera settings and we'll take a few shots. You can see here my shutter speed is 1/200th of a second. That is the fastest shutter speed I can have when I'm using flash. I have my aperture at f11 and my ISO is currently at 500. Now that will depend on the amount of light you've got where you're doing this, but remember that the flash is just being used to freeze the motion of the droplet. So it is adding light to your scene, but it's just to freeze that motion. So you can add extra light if you want to. Now, I'm using my flash in slave mode and it will be fired by the camera's flash here. So I need my flash enabled on the camera here, and if I go into the menu here and I go to the custom settings and bracketing and flash control, I've got it on manual, so it's TTL or through the lens, and it's on manual, and I've got it set at its lowest setting of 1/32. So that's a nice softer flash and it won't add too much extra light to your scene, but you will need to block it. Now what I mean by blocking the flash is quite simply because our external flash will fire when it sees the light from this flash on the camera. So you need to, I'll just turn on my flash over here and I'll show you what happens. So what I do is I fire this, I put my hand in front of it so it doesn't spray light all over the bowl and the droplets, and that triggers the flash to fire over there. So you can hold your hand in front of it, or you can put a piece of card in front of it, or anything you've got to block that off, but make sure that your external flash can still see the light from this one. Or you can use a remote trigger for your flash. I just don't have one for this flash. So to pop the flash into slave mode, so it'll fire from the camera's flash, with the Yongnuo YN565EX, what you do is hold the zoom button until it starts flashing that display there. You go across to this S1 on and press the center of the selector, and there you go, you're ready to go. And the flash power, I've got it set 1/32. You can use a lower setting which will give you a faster flash, but I found I needed the 1/32 to get enough light. If you have 2 or 3 of these flashes, you can set them all to 1/28 and you'll get a really good shot. But because I only have the one flash, I had to pump the power up a little bit more. Let's talk focus now. So I've got my ruler ready, and what we do is just pop it into the water at the point where the droplet is falling. So that's about right. And then check your live view screen and simply focus. Now you can zoom in if you have to. It's always a good idea. That is beautiful focus right there. So we're using the ruler because obviously it's got the nice defined lines and the numbers on it, and you can check your focus better. You can try and do this just looking at the droplet, but obviously because it's only there for a fraction of a second, it's hard to find out if it's in focus or not. Now we get to take some shots. I've set up my camera a little bit differently this time. I've kind of, I've moved the bowl back a little bit, and I've got the camera focusing right at the back of the bowl. The drop is dropping right at the back of the bowl. So I kind of get that infinity look to the shot. That's kind of what you want. You don't really want to be able to see whatever you've got your water in. You want it to kind of look seamless, just like water falling onto a pond or a puddle or whatever. So, and I've swapped this side. I've got my flash on because the water's falling kind of to this side of the bowl. So I thought the light coming from that direction would be good. I have also changed my camera settings to, I'm still at 1/200th of a second, but I've changed my aperture to f14 just because I took a few test shots before I pressed record here on this, and I didn't have the whole droplet in focus. This is something you're going to have to play around with, and it's up to you. It's your decision whether you're happy with having not all of the drop in focus or you want more of it in focus. It's up to you. Obviously, using a smaller aperture, you're going to lose a bit of light. So it's that delicate balance, yeah? So let's take a couple of shots. So like I said, just holding your hand in front of the flash, and it's all about timing. I just need to open up my bottle here and get it dripping. Just peel off the tape off the hole there. So it's about listening to the rhythm of the drops. Yeah, and just trying to click off your shot at the right time. Don't touch the camera while you're holding your hand in front of the flash if that's the way you're doing it. My flash did not fire. I'm pretty sure that flash did not fire. No, it did not. Why is that? There we go, that did that time. So just take a shot, have a look. That's not bad. Now I'm using an 18 to 55mm lens here. It is suggested that you use a macro lens for this, but as I don't have one, can't really do that. I did try this with extension tubes and I got some good results, but I think, you know, the 18 to 55 does a good job from this distance anyway, so I'm just trying it out. Too slow. So it's up to you which way you do this. You can either just keep clicking off and hope that you get something, or try and pick the timing between drops so you get that water when it hits the surface. You want to get that droplet just as it hits the surface, which is really tricky. And you got to keep in mind there is a slight delay. That looked like a good one. And we'll have a look. Oh yeah, not too bad. I kind of want it to be a little bit closer. I'm just going to move this in a bit. I'm going to refocus and see what I can get. So as with all the other things we've done, just play around. Just change your camera settings if you have to, change your aperture, change your shutter speed if you like. I have changed my shutter speed down to 1/125th of a second and got some good results. You can try slower shutter speeds. Just experiment, guys. It's not rocket science. Sometimes my remote fails to fire. I'm just going to go back to the shutter button. You can use your shutter button, just try to make sure not to do too much movement, yeah? Remember, if you've got vibration reduction on your lens, turn it off while you've got it on the tripod. And manual focusing, remember, we are not using autofocus here. I think I might have got one there. Oh yeah, that's not bad. So the trick is trying to get that infinity look to it so that you can't see your bowl. But, you know, I'm pretty happy with what I've got here. I can take the bowl out in Photoshop. So what you can do also is put food coloring into the water to give it some nice color. You can also put olive oil in there or some other types of oils. I've heard xanthan gum mentioned as a good thickener to make the water a bit thicker and behave a bit better. So, you know, try things out, experiment, have a good time. Next week we're going to show you how to edit things. So that's what you need to take decent water droplet photos. That's pretty awesome, right? Just guys, understand it's going to take a lot of practice. It's going to take a lot of patience. You're going to take an awful lot of shots. Just be patient with it and you'll get good results. Now next week I'm going to show you how to edit these photos and the ice photos that we took the week before. So make sure you check that out. Subscribe if you haven't already, ding the notification bell so you will be notified when that video comes out. If you like this video, hit the like button. If you want to leave a comment, please do so. Until next week, I'm Barry Callister of Barry Callister Photography. Stay in here, take some wicked shots, be safe, be healthy. I'll see you soon.